Halo Combat Evolved exists and everyone hates it. Apparently, the toxic Halo fanbase is at it again with their complaining and hating women and hating their lives, just wishing they could be a kid again.
Her face looks very different. Why?
But even though I'm part of this community, I was actually looking forward to this game, because it's based off this old obscure game called Halo Combat Evolved, which is one of the best games I've played in my entire life. So I was excited to play it because I'm pretty passionate about this series and I wanted to make a video on it, but I forgot that some of these YouTubers crank out videos like a sweatshop. By the time my game finished downloading, about 18,000 review videos were already uploaded. And because I'm an adult and every fucking day of my life has something going on, this video would take me weeks and just end up buried. But that's when I saw this commotion in the Halo community. There's been so much infighting, with one side saying it's the worst thing ever released and spits on the grave of the original, and the other side saying that the community is complaining just to complain. The negativity surrounding the game is overblown and all the criticism is in bad faith. You know what I think? You're both wrong. On some points, I have to explain it. So instead of wasting my time just reviewing Campaign Evolved, I'm going to waste my time reviewing Campaign Evolved in the context of the community opinion and what each side thinks for each different aspect of the game, and find the differences of opinion the community has with each other. So at the risk of having the worst SEO possible, I'm deciding to make this video just for fun. And let's set the record straight. I love Halo. Here's all the games I took from my parents' house when I turned 40 years old and they kicked me out. And I play the new games too. I've spent a lot of time with this series, and I still try to play them with my friends as much as I can. Basically what I'm saying is, I think I've been here in this community long enough and wasted enough of my life on these games to speak on this topic. But the problems start right from the beginning. I'm not even talking about Campaign Evolved yet. I'm talking about the community. We've always complained about shit. When Halo 2 released back in 2003, fans complained about the BR being overpowered, inconsistent sword lunges, glitches, and the noob combo being able to obliterate anyone you go up against. I have PTSD of this one time me and my friends were playing in a tournament as young lads, and these adults who knew the game a million times better than us just stomped our asses into the ground. It felt really unbalanced, but it was a learning experience. And with Halo 2 being one of the first titles on the new Xbox Live, they had network problems with the host having an advantage or people doing the classic standby glitch. Halo 3 released and there were similar criticisms, even with a lot of the networking issues fixed. You still had the community making posts about bullet spread, some weapons being useless unless they were dual wielded, and now after we all complained about the BR being too powerful in Halo 2, we were now all pissy about it being nerfed in Halo 3. You just can't please us. Halo Reach was just a whole other mess with the loadouts and armor abilities, which is where Bungie was really getting cute with the sandbox and could be a whole video in itself. Now the reason I mention this is because you might be able to notice a pattern. The majority of criticisms from the Bungie era Halo games stem from the weapon sandbox and balancing issues. Even if you want to argue that Bungie wasn't listening to fans and they weren't giving us proper balancing, we were still getting fully completed top tier games with great campaigns and multiplayer. Do you get it yet? If not, then I could spell it out for you. They weren't fucking removing or leaving out things that the fans actually like. This is a concrete difference between Bungie era and 343/Halo Studio era games. Not only did the community bitch about weapon balancing like they always have, but now we have a whole new set of worse problems to complain about, because 343 either changes what Halo is in a general sense, or, arguably worse, they remove features and maps and game modes and vehicles and weapons that made the game fun to play.
And I would say for any FPS going out forward, we will always have split screen in going forward.
We made the really tough decision to delay campaign co-op. We also made the tough call to delay shipping Forge. We have had to make the difficult decision not to ship campaign split screen co-op.
And then they topped it off with all the shit campaigns that don't even make any sense and are completely disconnected from each other with laughably bad storylines and characters. And this has been true for every Halo title that 343 released. But now they identify as Halo Studios, so when I'm talking about Campaign Evolved, that's what I'll be referring to them as. And I'm only going to dead name them when I talk about their past games, even though they're basically the same studio. It's annoying that I even have to do this. The whole reason they changed the name from 343 Industries to Halo Studios, in my opinion, was to distance themselves from their past failings, and the fact that they got rid of their management team, which were basically the four horsemen of the apocalypse for the Halo community. And one of them always said really stupid shit. Who knows what these guys are even doing now? Probably sitting on the mountain of cash they got from everyone spending money on stupid store bullshit. But every game they oversaw and directed development for was received poorly in some way due to the choices that they made. A good word to describe these choices would be baffling, or incomprehensible, or unfathomable, or whatever other synonyms I could think of to just avoid saying f***. So with how consistently bad they've handled their past 3 games, you can't really call the critical side of the community toxic when they call this out, or blame them when they're ready to pick out every issue with the changes made. especially when it's a remake of a game that was almost perfect for its time. That's where we are now and where I'm bringing this all together. Because of how 343, now Halo Studios, handled the Halo franchise, the community is strictly divided, and the reception of Campaign Evolved looks like it's falling right along party lines. The critical side of the community generally hates it. The supporter side of the community generally loves it. But what's still crazy to me is that it was even made in the first place. For some reason, and I still don't understand why, but a significant portion of the community were asking for a Combat Evolved remake, even though we already had Halo CE Anniversary. Granted, it looked like ass and no one liked it. The art director for CE Anniversary was Dmitry Kolodov, an employee of Saber Interactive who was contracted by 343 to work on the game. Kolodov apparently directed his entire art team to just up the brightness and change the entire look and tone of all the environments, completely stripping away any atmosphere the original game conveyed. And when you look at what other games Kolodov was involved in, the anniversary changes make no sense. He was also the art director for Space Marine 2, and that game seems to have stuck to the source material and provides amazing environments and atmosphere that perfectly match the Warhammer 40k art style and tone. Looking at the results of Kolodov's art direction on both games and the stark contrast between the two IPs, it's almost like 343 was in the background instructing him what to do. But when it's just Saber Interactive working for themselves, he was probably told, yeah, no changes, just make it look like 40k does. Changing it would be fucking stupid anyway. I mean, that's just speculation though. And it makes it even more surprising that whatever art direction errors 343 made in Anniversary were completely fixed by Halo Studios in Campaign Evolved. The art direction and atmosphere in every single remake level is so good that I can't praise it enough. Every set piece is beautifully crafted, and once you crash land on Halo, you'll see that they kept the alien and mysterious atmosphere. This is a big difference from Anniversary, where they made it look more Earth-like and recognizable, not like some weird liminal alien world. And even though Halo Studios kept the awful shiny sleek Forerunner architecture look that I hate, they at least made it slightly tolerable. The Forerunner architecture on Halo looks slightly weathered and aged, because it is. It's supposed to be ancient. They gave the texture small imperfections and dust and dirt and grime and a little dusty haze when you go into these underground areas. The Reclaimer saga had ancient Forerunner architecture looking like they equipped Sentinels with a ceramic coat spray gun and just blasted every structure that existed. It's an artistic concept that 343 just couldn't grasp. Unfortunately, what I really can't look past is the Halo ring itself. It's because I have to look at it every time I start up the game. There was always something off about this, like when they put these big ass boils on it in the structure and it just makes it look out of scale. The original ring and really all of the Halo ring designs that Bungie made absolutely mogged this gross ass looking design that Halo Studios did. It was just another thing that didn't need to be changed. Even Marcus Leto said it looked like shit, and I think he would know, being that he co-created Halo. It perfectly exemplifies the horrible design philosophy that Halo Studios seems to be carrying over from their 343 days. And if you could just block out how bad they screwed up the Forerunner stuff and the thing the game is named after, the rest of the environmental art just knocks everything out of the park. When I was a kid, this is how I imagined games would look in the future. And the lighting is beautiful. I genuinely had to stop during the Pillar of Autumn where you're going through these service corridors. It was a moment where I was sold on the atmosphere this game was going to give us. The new lighting technology does a great job of making it actually dark, to the point where I had to use my flashlight more often than not when traveling underground or being outside at night, and especially in the later levels when dealing with the flood outbreak. I can criticize Bungie for just having us rerun through old levels with missions 8 through 10, but they did what they could with the time and technical constraints by adding the flood in different routes. But with the remake, it amps up the different look with the modern technology and graphical capability. It simply further hides the fact that you're just rerunning missions you already played earlier in the game. I mean, just look at how cool this looks. Halo Studios was able to add the creepy vibe that the original game portrayed. This is another aspect I think the community generally agrees on, and thank God Halo Studios didn't use the 343 art style for their enemies. Now, when they made Halo 4 and 5, they were so far up their own ass they wouldn't listen to the criticisms of how the Covenant and everything in the game looked fat, disgusting, and bloated. The critical side of the community always brought up how bad this looked, but the supporters said the designs were great, and they're wrong. But I wish they just went full-on Combat Evolved art style, but I guess this is the best we could hope for. All of the visuals, most of the character models, and the higher resolution and textures, and just the overall in-game graphics look fantastic. Now, like I said, I think the entire community kind of agrees on this, but it's not without issues. There are times where the game looks blurry and then has this weird haze around things. Even worse when the graphics just glitch out and look like ass. It goes in between looking amazing to having all that shit come together and just look like an oil painting, which we'll get into. From my understanding, this is due to the poor optimization of Unreal Engine 5 and the issues that developers developers have making games in it. Now this was a choice by Halo Studios to make Campaign Evolved in UE5, because they already had their own engine called Slipspace. This was an engine they poured millions, possibly hundreds of millions of dollars into developing it, and then they ended up swapping it out for one that even I could just download right now for free. Now, 343 Industries inherited Blam from Bungie, which was the engine all Halos were built on up to this point. When 343 got a hold of it, they heavily modified it to make Halo 4, then further modified it to make Halo 5, and then kept on fucking with it to make the Slipspace engine for Halo Infinite. And whether it be through mismanagement or poor leadership or any combination of factors, 343 simply couldn't pull it off.
Oh wow, that death animation wasn't great. I mean, this doesn't look offensive to me in any way, but I was expecting to be a lot more excited about this. Do you see that fog just clipping?
If you showed someone a screenshot of this without the HUD, like, this pistol doesn't look like fucking Halo.
Yeah, I would say it's fake. Look at those ships look really bad. Sorry.
I can't even imagine how humiliating and defeating it was to work on this engine for years, only for it to be revealed and laughed at by millions of people around the world, and then later replaced with the same engine that makes Fortnite. But this whole debacle was basically the sole reason Halo Studios switched to UE5, and fans were asking for this since 2022 when features in Halo Infinite were delayed due to development issues. At this point, Slipspace seemed like a boat that was held together with flex tape. Like, yeah, I could see it works, but I'm not getting in that shit. It's made of tape. I'm just glad they saw their limitations, and I could give them a big thumbs up for doing this. Is what I would say if this game didn't run like absolute dog shit. From the second I fired this up on my computer, I knew something was wrong. Look at this film grain, it's disgusting. But not only that, I had to deal with constant stutters throughout my entire first week of playing, a major issue that lots of other people were having not only on PC but on console too. And when I found that out, I was like, well, you did it again, Halo Studios. Ironically, when reviewers were pointing out that the beta of Campaign Evolved had stuttering issues and other graphical problems, people who didn't like that opinion and the supporters of Halo Studios said, I don't buy it, any game can be properly optimized in UE5, and Halo Studios is definitely going to do that. And you know what, they're right. Plenty of games are made in UE5 that run great, except they're also wrong, because Halo Studios didn't optimize this game, and at times it runs horribly, has graphical issues, and stutters so badly at times that I had to stop playing. Look at whatever the hell's happening here when I'm trying to record a cutscene. I've never had any modern game do this with me in the history of owning a PC. And for the people saying stuttering isn't an issue, well, how about you try setting your graphics to roulette and see how you like it? Oh, you got a high one. Oh, that's a good FPS. Oh, you got a low one. Oh, that sucks. The people that strongly support this game also say that the film grain doesn't exist or just isn't bad. But as soon as I started up this game without even knowing this was a problem, my brain immediately noticed it and I said, wow. This is crap. I spent an hour going through the menus just to find out what the hell was wrong. I must have used every setting imaginable in order to make this look right, but nothing I was doing helped. Thankfully, there's a mod to get rid of it, but it doesn't address the stuttering, and it shouldn't have to be done in the first place. The only thing that worked for me was downloading the updated NVIDIA driver, which didn't come out until a week after release. Pretty annoying because I'm running a 5070 and really didn't expect this to happen, and it's not like I was trying to get 8,000 FPS on 4K or something. But once you get into the actual game and pass all that nonsense, it's a pretty damn fun game. Halo Studios did make some changes to levels specifically in the second half of the game, which kind of constitutes as being called a remake rather than a remaster. But on the surface, it's the same game we all maybe played in 2001 when it was first released. To me, this is mostly the Halo Combat Evolved that I knew and loved with upgraded graphics. And as a lifelong fan, I've played through these levels probably hundreds of times, solo or co-op or LAN, so it's kind of hard to separate my nostalgia from my experience replaying these levels over again now 25 years later, and it makes me wonder how someone completely new to the series would enjoy it. But it's really a template of what made these games so fun. Varying level design, small corridors and wide open areas filled with different enemy types, and the use of vehicles in each of these environments. The Silent Cartographer, Assault in the Control Room, and 2 Betrayals might be my favorite levels in the entire series, just because of how much you could explore and have wide open battlefields. I hope when developing this, Halo Studios was taking notes on proper and fun level design, being that all of the 343 Halo games were claustrophobic whether you were inside or outside and had boring and repetitive engagements. Speaking of wide open areas to explore, I like that they added skulls and hid them around levels for players to find. And I also think tying those in as difficulty modifiers and having a campaign remix mode was a great idea. It was definitely nice to give something new for returning fans to look forward to, rather than just playing the game with the only selling point being graphics look gooder. But one baffling choice they made was adding all these boundaries. I wish they just removed them and let us explore the levels like the original because, 1, the environments look amazing, and 2, Well, I mean, you put skulls in the game, so why not just let us get lost trying to find them? It's not really that much to ask. This is definitely one thing the critical side brings up, and I really agree with them, but I found something out. You could explore all over the place in some of these levels by scaling up mountains and trying to wedge your shit into the side of some cliff face, but more often than not, if you see some structure, you could probably think, oh yeah, I bet there's a skull up there. And it's there. In fact, that's how I found most of mine without having to look up their location. You don't really have to go too far off the beaten path to find the ones that I did, at least. And I really have a sense of pride and accomplishment for finding them on my own. You know what else was a great idea? Not messing with these fucking menus. I'm so sick of these modern game developers thinking they're UI experts because they took Information Architecture 101. And they hold your controller hostage by making every single button open some kind of menu, or tab, or submenu, or battle pass store. But when you want to actually play the game, you have to crawl through about 18 layers of this crap. The fact that Halo Studios was able to restrain themselves and kept the simple design philosophy of the original UI is a feat in itself. So yeah, overall, I don't have much more to say on the remakes of the original levels. It's Halo Combat Evolved with a coat of modern paint over it, and even though the paint might be from Temu and probably has lead in it, I'm still having a blast. In fact, in a few hours, me and some friends are continuing our remix run on Legendary. This and all the different skull modifiers just add another layer of challenge, and it makes it more interesting for people that have played through the same levels dozens of times. And I also enjoy the little touches like being able to hijack vehicles, bringing in a mechanic that wasn't there until Halo 2, and the ability to drive the Wraith. There still are some problems though. The AI seems like a rollback from the original game, which I don't understand being that it came out so long ago. We have ChatGPT now, for God's sakes, just slap that shit in a prompt and let the enemies have at it. And yeah, I know you can't do that, but why the change in the first place? The supporter side of the community will say that the AI changes aren't all that bad, and I kind of agree with them, but I still have to ask the question, why did it get made worse in the first place? It wasn't constant, but some enemies do get hung up or just stand around waiting for you to kill them. While grunts still run away when you kill an elite, the rest of the enemies don't really have the similar reactions that I remember from the original. And Marines have a habit of getting in your way like they have a death wish or just standing around doing nothing. All these issues that I mentioned were enough to get some people to absolutely hate this game, and it's one area where I can't fully agree with the critical side of the community.
You no longer destroy the pulse beacons with your own shield. This is where I went completely dead inside and began to dissociate.
Come on, man, it's not that bad. Like, yeah, it changes the feeling and gameplay of that one portion of the mission, but it doesn't make me want to drive my Warhog off a cliff to end my suffering or anything like that. But this video does a good job picking out the level design changes that Halo Studios made in some portions of the missions and comparing back to how the original game was superior. While I didn't hate the changes to the extent that it seems some of the critical side of the community did, longtime fans will notice them. And while it wasn't a big deal to me, I can't say these changes were really positive or better. Well, I'm no stranger to complaining about Halo and 343 Industries. In fact, it's one of my favorite things to do because it's deserved, and really it's a shame what they did to the franchise. But I could still enjoy a game for what it is. But I can't help but notice the little changes Halo Studios added that just takes away from the original game they were trying to remake.
Now would be a very good time to leave.
What? Why'd you say it like that? Why'd you separate it into two sentences and then kind of whisper that last part?
I knew it. The autumn's accelerating. Keys is going in manual.
Oh, that silly Keys, look at him go. What's with this line delivery? What I think we could blame this on is the voice direction and not the voice actors themselves, because Halo Studios went out of their way to bring back most of the original cast. This is very unlike their old 343 selves, who insisted on replacing Master Chief and Cortana's voice, only to be told that it's a really fucking stupid idea by the playtesters. But not only did they make baffling choices with the voice direction in these cutscenes, but the cinematography and the camera work too. But I found a post by one of the supporters of this game that said most of the cutscenes have been improved, and the title of this post was 17 Facts You Can't Deny and What the Remake Did Better Than the Original, which is pretty interesting because I'm going to deny it right now. The lifeboat scene perfectly illustrates how wrong this post is and the supporters are, and how Halo Studios not only misunderstands the original cutscenes, but misunderstands basic fundamentals of crafting a good cinematic. In the original, it starts with the Marine being scared for his life and cowering in fear, demonstrating how terrified of the Covenant these poor bastards are, only to show the Chief's arm reach down and then cut to him tossing this guy like he weighs nothing, demonstrating how strong the Chief is and that he's a hero to these guys. Then Chief boards and closes the door, switching to a swooping camera angle that starts on the crawling Marine that we just saved and ending up with a close-up on the Chief.
Punch it.
Ah, sir!
It's just a badass scene. It culminates to the climax of the mission so you could finally blow your loaded pod out into space. But in Campaign Evolved, the Marine gets shot and they don't even give him time to cower, and Chief almost struggles to put him back in and he just kind of hobbles into the lifeboat. Look at this Marine, he's just casually strolling to take a seat like he got on the fucking bus. Then we waste like 10 seconds shooting at these elites that are just kind of I don't even know, bumbling around. They both have their weapons trained inside the pod and they could have just melted everyone, but they just keep dancing around like they're Eddie Gordo or something.
Eddie Gordo.
And then they blue ball you because they don't even see you blowing your pod, which is the entire point of the mission. Then Cortana has her weak ass voice line of Keyes punching it into Manuel. Well, in the original you see the Pillar of Autumn swoop overhead, but in this one he almost obliterates you and everyone on board. This all culminates with your lifeboat coming down on Halo. Originally we got a shot of the pod coming in hot, the air brakes failing, and then switching to the first person view at Chief until you crash land. It really immerses you. In Halo Studios' version of this scene, it's much more cinematic. Like it's cut for a movie because the writers probably think Marvel movies are cool or something. We get a bunch of different quick cuts and the doors breaking open and Marines getting sucked out. I guess they thought while burning up in the atmosphere at like 8,000 miles an hour, it would be a good time to take their seatbelts off. But then it just kind of skids to a halt in such a way that I would expect some of these guys to still be alive. I don't know, the original was just better. These are the kind of gripes I have with all the new cutscenes. And speaking of this stupid post, they specifically mentioned Keyes ramming into the hunters as being done better in the remake. I agree to a point. By the way, did you know that stopping on a dime when traveling at speed can inflict over 7,000 pounds of force directly into your body? Anyways, in Keyes there's another cutscene with a small change, but it comes off wrong.
Chief? Chief!
How do we free him?
I like that they added this line. Chief doesn't say anything in the original, even though it still effectively conveys that he doesn't want to rip Keyes' neural implant out. But in Campaign Evolved, Cortana's voice line delivery and her body language almost makes it seem like she's trying to convince me to do something that's wrong.
You know what he'd expect. What he'd want us to do.
It just makes me uneasy. You know what else makes me uneasy? Even while I was playing with my friends and we were watching this specific cutscene in nearly dead silence, my friend just goes, "Yo, what the fuck they do to her face?" It's just proof that even people who aren't in the chronically online portion of the Halo community, like myself, still see an issue with this. I know videos were posted everywhere about how Cortana looked weird, and people that disagreed with this viewpoint and were supporters of Halo Studios just ignored it as nonsensical whining and incels wanting all the girls to be hot so they could jerk off to them. But that's not even the argument here. It's as if Halo Studios worked from the bottom up making a body that actually looks like it should. But then they did the PC thing of just giving her the strangest and most uncanny face I've seen on a woman in video game history. She just looks weird. There are moments where she looks okay, but others where it's just completely off-putting.
Double time! Woo! Here we go!
Attention all personnel. We are re-engaging the enemy. External and internal contact imminent.
Oh, you greenhorns who wanted to see Covenant up close. This is gonna be
Johnson, who are you talking to, buddy? In the original, he ordered them to their stations and slowly followed them and then gave this line. In the new version, he dismisses them, walks around in a circle, and then just talks to, I don't know, the wall? The original voice actor for Johnson was David Scully, and while they wanted to bring him back, apparently he's retired from voice acting. I don't completely hate the new voice actor, Keston John, for his voice acting for Johnson, but they're really trying to win a losing battle. For one, no one was going to be thrilled that Scully wasn't returning to voice Johnson. And two, the way they recorded and directed the lines goes in the opposite direction of what he should sound like.
You heard the lady. Move like you got a purpose. You heard the lady. Move like you got a purpose.
This is not a drill.
The new lines have a less battle-hardened sergeant tone and sound more like they're read for flair or drama. It's funny how you can appreciate someone's voice acting so much for a character that fans can fall in love with them, which is why I was really excited when I found out about the prequel missions that came with Campaign Evolved, featuring the Chief and Johnson going on a special mission, and I'm sure nothing can go wrong there. But before we move on, I really have to hit on the final cutscene of the entire game, and it really highlights everything wrong with Halo Studios' philosophy. Why the sudden change in movement speed? He should be frantically firing up the engines. Was he connecting his phone?
The Bluetooth device is connected.
Oh good, Chief looks like a real dumbass now, waiting 15 seconds plugging in Cortana and then just staring at her. And because we had to have Cortana in this scene for some reason, she gets to sit in the corner like a cuckogram while Chief does all the work. And then Chief loses his gun like me dropping my phone under my car seat. Oh wow, just one shot, huh? Suddenly an enemy that was terrifying seems pretty trivial. I mean, this guy could have killed half a dozen of them by accident. It just really good. Can you close a fucking door already? Now, I can't really even tell what's happening in this scene. The original shows the Pillar of Autumn lighting off this massive explosion, this impressive shockwave that rips across the entire ring. You know, even as a kid, this kind of made sense to me. Well, it's a huge structure. The massive explosion and shockwave circling around the ring would probably destabilize it. You know, because it's like you know, it's a ring. But in Campaign Evolved, the entire ring just starts catching fire and blowing up, and it's not even near where the Pillar of Autumn exploded. What, did they rig the entire thing to blow? It just looks dumb. The whole final cinematic has so many problems, and it's so disappointing. Not to mention, this really hammers home the whole have the player do the cool stuff. In the original, we got into the ship because we already escaped. It was satisfying that we were able to do that. With the new version, it's like we escaped, but not really. And then we just have to sit and watch this flood form attack us, even though we already escaped them for the past like 30 minutes. It's just some stupid thing that was added in for a cheap burst of drama and tension, but the game already gave us that. We're trying to escape a fucking fusion reactor exploding. I think the stakes are a little higher than getting past this flood that can be dealt with in one shot. The supporters within the Halo community say that all this nitpicking of the changed cutscenes isn't warranted, but it really is. I just refuse to sit here and say it's fine when every change or added thing sucks ass. And when you stack the changed cinematics on top of the glitchy or lackluster marine and enemy AI, the poor performance issues and graphical problems, and the baffling voice direction, you're objectively left with a worse product than the original. The only area where I step away from the criticism and the so-called overreacting is that I still have fun with the game, and none of this has stopped me from playing it altogether. I can't deny that I've played this for hours and I've had fun doing it, but the same can't be said for these bonus missions. As far as the community goes, we're having one side saying they're the worst thing to ever happen to Halo with DEI woke nonsense, Marvel millennial writing, and a horrible plotline, and really boring, uninspired level design and gameplay. And I take offense to that because me being an incel isn't the only reason I don't like these missions. The biggest and most glaring problem with the Operation Meteorite bonus missions is they suffer from the same old 343 Industries bland level design that's neither fun nor interesting or memorable. And I don't even know how they pull that off. The setting is something I've wanted to see since I've come across it in one of the millions of pages of extended Halo universe lore. We get to board an experimental Covenant cruiser that's absolutely massive. It even features a biodome with a self-sustained ecosystem, and you get to play through it. And when I learned that these existed on Covenant cruisers, I thought how fucking cool it would be to see it. But in practice, it's downright bland. If you ignore the skybox that shows the dome and the artificial atmosphere, then you're just fighting in another generically alien-looking setting with Covenant structures built around it. There aren't really any wow moments, and it doesn't help that I was just reminded of how much cooler Assault in the Control Room is. The only memorable parts, or what I could even remember, is this large room filled with shit, and then there's this bridge section. There was also a hangar with a Banshee in it, and I thought, oh, I could actually fly in here, but the developers disabled it to prevent us from having too much fun, I guess. It's just a lack of time or creativity or both, because the final product looks like a rushed rehash of some Halo-esque environment that we've seen 100 times already. The Covenant ships and architecture look exactly the same, only sometimes getting a new coat of paint. They add in these plants, which is a nice touch, I guess, in this greenhouse-looking area, but how cool would it actually be to go in there? If this ship is really important, you should try to make it seem like that and change some things around. The only strikingly different interior environment and something we haven't seen before is these laboratories, and they act like it's a big deal, but it's just sci-fi schlock and tropes. How many times have we seen things floating in tubes? So what? I saw Luke Skywalker do that shit when I was 5. Couldn't they make it a little bit darker or show or at least imply that some grotesque or morally messed up experiments were going on here? The whole idea behind the experiments this prophet is doing is just lame. He's just trying to bring out the full potential of each species in the Covenant, which kind of sounds, I don't know, nice of him.
Are you not impressed with our work here? I would have thought you, of all creatures, would appreciate such steadfast dedication to improvement.
It's like the only reason they did this is to draw parallels to Chief's augmentations and training he underwent in the Spartan program. But in Halo 4, 343 already told us that was necessary, and the Forerunner literally implanted that shit in our genes.
I hid seeds from the didact, seeds which would lead to an eventuality. Your physical evolution, your combat skin, even your ancilla Cortana. You are the culmination of 1,000 lifetimes.
You remember that utter nonsense?
But under our guidance, my guidance, their rage can be controlled.
Oh, I mean, so much for that rage control, huh? I mean, he was fine before, but now he's just killing all of your allies. It's just a stupid plot point, and what are you doing? I have to mention the cinematics again, specifically this cutscene, which is so bad it's already become a meme.
I think I heard a what? Ah, what? Home. Did you see that Elite just doing a little shuffle there?
What are these animations? Why are the plasma shots so slow?
All right. I was about to make fun of it for like they're not in cover, but If we're being real, they don't fucking use cover in the main game anyway. It's just so shitty.
What are they shooting at? That looks awful, I'm sorry.
The movement looks awful, like floaty and slow, and it's present in a lot of the cinematics throughout the entire game. You know, I usually ignore people shouting about AI slop this and AI slop that, but after seeing this crap, I'm pretty damn sure that 343 used AI to make a good portion of the cinematics, because it just gives that weird uncanny feeling you get when you watch AI generated videos. It was some company called Digic who made all the cinematics, but I mean, just look at this other stuff they made. The movement is fluid and fast-paced, and I mean, really the main thing to note here is that it doesn't look like shit. Even though the cinematics weren't specifically made by 343 themselves, I mean, they still had the final say on it. And I mean, really, why not just rehire the people that made the Halo Wars cutscenes? I mean, this was made like 10 years ago, and it looks better in every aspect. You know what makes this even worse? Not only can I say without a doubt this is the worst cutscene I've ever seen in any Halo game, but it takes place during an important point in Operation Meteorite. And if you consider 343 separate from the new Halo Studios name, this is technically their first time making a new story, and it still sucks. Unfortunately, the rest of the levels are a slog, with no real memorable moments or opportunities for exploration or even any fun encounters, and the enemy placement is just all over the place. Campaign Evolved supporters can call the criticisms directed towards the cinematics nitpicky all they want, but when the level design sucks on top of that, you're just getting shit served on top of shit. But I think we have to talk about the big elephant in the room.
I'm Lieutenant Williams, Tiger Company.
Now, there are some people in the critic community that say that she's not hot. I know a lot of people are kind of up in arms about this, but if they're going to insist on making a hardened ODST who's a female, I can buy the look, and I don't really care. At least she doesn't look like she crawled out of the uncanny valley like some others do in this game. And the supporter side of the community's rebuttal to this usually doesn't go past "you're an incel," but this back and forth really misses the point. The fundamental problem is, as usual, her character and the lack of development that she gets. She's kind of pointless. Halo Studios really should have learned from their failings when 343 created Sarah Palmer, a character who's introduced by immediately poking fun at the Chief, and then just continues to be a bitch to everyone around her throughout Spartan Ops. When someone talks like this to the main character, a character who saved the galaxy like 3 times now, fans aren't going to like it. But for some reason, 343, Halo Studios, and really any modern writing team thinks that what makes a woman cool is when they have the worst personality ever. Just once I'd like to see a female character in a mainline Halo game just be, I don't know, like enjoyable or something. Which is what we had before 343 and Halo Studios got their creepy millennial hands into everything. They took Cortana, the most celebrated female character in gaming, and turned her into a dictator maniac.
Cortana is not evil. Cortana is doing a thing we don't agree with, and she has the power to make it happen.
Well, America does things people don't agree with, and Russia does things people don't agree with.
Shut up. Go back to writing blogs, you bald fuck. How about you make a female character and just like write them like you would anyone else? You don't have to go all crazy with it and reinvent the wheel. This shit's been done before. Miranda Keyes existed and she was a cool character and did badass stuff. Can't even imagine how insufferable she would be if she was written post 2009 by 343.
Ma'am, squad leaders are requesting a rally point. Where should they go?
Maybe you should go home, stupid egghead. I got this from here. This is for disrespecting me. Now it's time to die, Johnson. Hell, even Dare was a dick to Buck, but she wasn't one-dimensional and had some actual humanity to her. She had quips and personality traits other than awful, and she wanted to bang Nathan Fillion.
I'll pass on that dance, but you can show me where to sit.
Williams is like the complete opposite. She's an overdone female Marine stereotype that we've all seen a million times with the backstory that's not fleshed out or even explained. In classic 343 and now Halo Studios fashion, they rely on you knowing the extended lore to even begin to understand why she hates the Chief. Spartans and ODSTs don't get along for multiple reasons, and most of the explanation is in the Fall of Reach novel and the novelization of the first game. But if you don't know any of that, she just kind of looks like a thankless, unappreciative asshole who doesn't care that you just saved her and her team's life. I mean, if you really wanted to put this plot point in, you could have had her going on the mission with Chief and Johnson, and maybe she's just talking to her team about how she's not all that thrilled about fighting alongside a Spartan, reference some reasons, and give more expository dialogue about the relationship between ODSTs and Spartans. But even if you present this plot point correctly, it's not important to the bigger picture at all, so I don't even know why we're talking about this. But all this culminates in one of the funniest fucking scenes ever.
We're locked. Clear the target. Just in time, LT. Big damn heroes. All of you.
Appreciate it, Sergeant Major. Name a building after us or something, alright? I was thinking something like...
Oh my god. Williams just straight up volunteers her and her team to sacrifice themselves so they can drop the Covenant cruiser's shields, and then this UNSC ship can launch a Mac round straight through it. And Johnson's just like, "Yep, soldier, you're really fighting the good fight. Thanks for everything you're doing. All right, Chief, let's get the hell out of here before they change their mind." Even after they get vaporized to dust, Chief and Johnson don't really even seem to care, and they barely say anything about it. Look at him, he's kicking back at his chair, he's all smiles. It's just another baffling writing choice. This whole entire Operation Meteorite doesn't make any sense, and it's one of the poorer stories that Halo's ever presented. The worst part about it, though, is that the original campaign and Operation Meteorite bonus missions are in the same game. And it's really a problem, because when you complete the OG campaign and then go right into these, well, you could directly compare them, and it just highlights the immediate and painfully apparent failings and shortcomings of Halo Studios. You could take a game that's already been made for you, add some pretty graphics when they work, some new things to find and some changes here and there, and you have yourself what you could call a remake, even if you kind of fuck it up and add in your shitty cutscenes and weird voice and audio and cinematic direction and weird looking character models and inferior AI, and people are probably still going to find some enjoyment out of it because you're remaking one of the most influential video games that ever existed. But then when you, as a development studio, take all your shortcomings and expand it out to make a mini campaign in the same game, and then add in your poor level design and uninspired locales and shitty story and garbage new characters, well, I guess I just kind of get worried for what else you're going to give us when you make a full game. So now I'm frustrated, and you're frustrated, and the critics and supporters are frustrated at each other, and everyone in the Halo community hates each other all over again. But let's address the supposed toxic critics in the Halo community. The ones that the remake and Halo Studio supporters are saying that they're negative just for the sake of negativity. I just can't fully agree with that. The supporters might say the critical side is cherry-picking things to bitch about, while at the same time the supporters are handpicking the weakest arguments that the critical side has. They see some no-name user in a YouTube comment section complaining that they can't jerk off to Williams, and then just attribute that thought process to anyone who has a negative opinion of the game, rationalizing that anyone who dislikes the game isn't doing so in good faith, and then completely ignore how the bonus missions are a preview of what the community is in for with the next Halo game. It turns out the critical side of the community was still right to be worried about how Halo Studios would handle the franchise. I think the side of the community that supported 343 through all of this crap forgets about the times when we had to complain about stuff for it to be added or changed. Like I said before though, Halo Campaign Evolved is a classic beloved game with a coat of modern paint. I'm fine with that. Things like sprinting or aiming down sights never really bothered me, and I appreciate it that I get to enjoy the original campaign with my friends with the new graphical update, trying to find skulls and adding difficulty modifiers to it, and that's all really fun. The level changes don't get me all up in arms like it does with some people, but sometimes it leads to frustration and just asking questions like, well, why did they even change this? And I just can't look past how badly they changed the cinematics and the voice acting and the AI and the music cues and even some of the sound effects. It just makes out for a worse product. With Operation Meteorite is where I really have to stand almost entirely with the critics and against the supporters. It's bad. Everything in it is bad. Not only the issues that are in the remake, but the level design itself, and the story, and the new characters, and the dialogue, and the insistence on thinking the fans know the extended universe when 95% of them don't. And those are all things that Halo Studios made themselves. And we didn't even talk about this. They didn't even include multiplayer. I get that Bungie added in multiplayer to Combat Evolved as a last-minute afterthought because Microsoft wanted them to. It was unbalanced, but it was still fun. But this is 2026 and you have Microsoft backing you, so not including multiplayer, but still charging full price for a game that originally had more content seems like a slap in the face, and it goes more to back up the critical community with their assertion that this was a rush cash grab. But I firmly believe that Halo Studios made Campaign Evolved in order to get their feet wet with making a Halo game in Unreal Engine 5. When they first announced this, it seemed like they were just fucking around in it and building landscapes and stuff. They even specifically said it's not a game and it's just a project.
It's not a game, it's a research project for our studio so we can prepare ourselves for the next steps of making Halo games.
The original Halo franchise was a graphics showcase. It was best in class. That's what Halo was when it first was released, and that's what Halo needs to be again.
Yeah, like graphics blew me away when I was 8 years old when I saw them, but it wasn't just that. It was the gameplay and the feeling and the characters and the story, and not to mention everyone can do graphics now, so it's kind of a pointless goal. Every year we get more realism and higher fidelity and all that crap, but rarely do we get better games. So for new players and would-be fans of the series, you're kind of getting screwed either way. The original gives you an amazing game, but it's still of its time. With the remake, you get all the modernization that a lot of video game enjoyers come to expect for better or worse, but all the little issues I mentioned add up and your experience kind of suffers whether you know it or not. Not to mention you're really just getting half the original game because you don't get multiplayer. And like the rest of the people that play this game, You're getting a front row seat to the preview of what Halo Studios is going to develop in the future. At the end of the day, Campaign Evolved isn't the worst game ever made in the series. That's tied between Halo 4 and Halo 5. But it's basically the best that I would expect Halo Studios to do, and that's not very good. While I still want to continue playing co-op and doing the remix campaign, I have a suspicion that I'll be headed right back to MCC when it's done. And the Operation Meteorite missions, when categorizing them as a game in itself, are just above Halo 4 and Halo 5 for me, which is a really bad sign. Whatever happens, I'll still be here, and I truly hope I'm wrong about my feeling that Halo Studios is going to screw up again. I don't think me or anyone else in either side of the community wants the IP to fail or be thrown in the dirt like some discarded, rotting piece of trash. We just want a complete Halo game that's competently made and enjoyable.